bleeding. I got bleeding. I got bleeding, man. Mama, I love you. Reese, I love you.
You got help?
Yeah, my kid, I love you. I'm telling you.
My side is listed.
I can't breathe for nothing, man. It's so good, man. Mama, I love you. I can't do nothing. My face is gone. I can't breathe, man. Please. Please understand. Please, man, I can't breathe.
Get up on the sidewalk, please. One side, please.
My face still up. Oh, it's all right.
How can you take, this illustrates how you can take a single nanosecond of time in this arrest. You can have this testimony that he's pushing his body up to try to breathe, right? But when you look at the evidence compared to the rate of pressure to the neck of Mr. Floyd. So let's look at this time in the context of the other evidence.
How long y'all gotta hold him down?
Did anybody even see the toe come up off the ground? I mean, was it a half a second, a quarter of a second? But when you take a single incident,
this diminution in oxygen reserves and supply, but no human being could have survived. Based on the science. Based on the science. Now, if it's dismissed as theoretical, which is a word I think I heard, theoretical, well, it's the same theoretical that Dr. Fowler said that he would defer to someone else to create because he can't do it. And that's exactly what Dr. Tobin did. And so here, ladies and gentlemen, we're only required to show you that Mr. Chauvin's conduct was a substantial cause, a substantial factor in Mr. Floyd's death. Did he simply die automatically from, exclusively from the low oxygen? Ultimately, the low oxygen translates into not breathing and the heart stopping because we have cardiopulmonary arrest. Did it first impact the heart, then the heart stopped first? Ultimately, they both stop because we have cardiopulmonary arrest, all stemming back to the subdural restraint and neck compression from Mr. Chauvin. They all agree that that was the precipitating point. And then from there, the stresses, the strains on Mr. Floyd's body, the low oxygen, culminated in his ultimate demise and his passing away. So I want to address kind of several other points on the heading of what I think are stories that you've heard versus, I think, the truths here. You know, when the case started, I think you all were asked and talked to about there being two sides to every story. Two sides to every story. Which is one of the most dangerous things, I think, about the process of truth, because it suggests that everything is simply reduced to a story. And if it is a story, that means there can be multiple sides to a story, and they can never be the truth or reality, except that what we're about here is getting to the truth, and not simply stories. Now, it is most certainly right, for example, for a police officer to take seriously this overarching mission of the police department, embracing the sanctity of life and protection of the public as the highest values. But it is equally wrong. It is equally wrong to take this badge, which is a symbol of a commitment to a higher calling to serve the people, to use this badge as a license to abuse the public, to mistreat the public, to not follow proper procedures, to not render aid when you should administer aid. That's wrong. That's not a story. That's simply wrong. And the only two sides to that would be the W and the G for that being wrong. Now, you have heard statements to the effect of Mr. Chauvin being concerned about the bystanders and about others. Well, if you're looking at the totality of the evidence, you have to bear in mind that at all relevant times here, there were 5 grown men police officers right there. And 4 right there on the scene. And then again, Officer Chang, who was there too. There's a radio to call for backup if they felt it was needed. You didn't hear any evidence about any call for backup at all. Now, there was concern here that Mr. Chauvin was concerned. And I won't say much more about body language that has already been discussed. And you'll decide for yourself whether that was the face of one who was afraid at the time. Because he had all of the power at this point. He had the bullets, guns, he had the mace that he threatened the bystanders with, he had backup, he had the badge, and he had all of it. And what was there to be afraid of here, particularly at this scene? There were 3 high school juniors there and a 2nd grader who was going to the store to get candy. There was a high school senior who was taking her cousin to the store, a first responder on the scene. And there was Donald Williams, who wanted nothing more than to try to intervene to try to save Mr. Floyd's life. Mr. Charles McMillan, a 61-year-old man, that if I gave him a name, I would call him the mayor of the neighborhood. He just likes to see what's going on and to look out for things, but he was simply there to try to also intervene to try to save Mr. Floyd's life. So this wasn't